we go.
All right. Welcome to episode 1.
Episode number 1.
Welcome to A Dash of Salt, where two salty women are going to sprinkle a little flavor into your everyday journey through work, growth, and everything in between. I'm Stacy McCracken, your co-host, a small town girl from Peru, Indiana, turned Austinite.
And I'm Sharon Mawet, your salty companion. I'm a native Texan with a knack for baking up big dreams.
And together, we're here to infuse a little saltiness into your world.
That's right. Whether it's adding some spice to your career or seasoning your personal growth, we have got you covered. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a flavorful ride for our very, very first episode.
I'm so excited. That's right, Sharon. So thank you for joining us on this new adventure. We can't wait to share with you everything we're going to talk about today. And I think, Sharon, this is a topic that you are going to love.
Yeah. So the first thing we're going to do, Stacy, is do our weekly spark. So I thought as we're going on to this new adventure, I did a little research and saw that there's a lot of women that have started their successful or what their popular careers, well-known careers in their 40s or even later. So first of all, in our trailer, we mentioned Vera Wang. She started her company in her 40s. And then of course, since we're talking about professional life, Brene Brown, she got her start in TED Talks in her 40s. And now she has 6 #1 bestsellers, 2 podcasts, an HBO docuseries. You know, kudos to Brene Brown.
So there's hope.
Yes. I mean,
we are on our way.
We are on our way. And then, of course, launching into some chefs that I follow. Julia Child did not publish her first book until her late 40s. And then she was 51 when she started her popular PBS series, The French Chef. And then right now in the news, Martha Stewart transformed her catering business into a lifestyle company at the age of 50. And if you didn't know, this fall, she has launched her 100th cookbook featuring 100 of her favorite recipes.
That's crazy. And she is everywhere right now. I mean, she was at the Olympics. She is everywhere.
Yeah. You know, we have great role models to follow in their footsteps and hopefully we'll be as successful.
That's awesome. Soon we're going to add Sharon Mawet to that list for like a big baking.
Yeah, a cookbook down the road.
Yep, success. I look forward to it. Sharon, we are going to talk about something that I think is important to you because we've talked about it. And I bet it's interesting to our listeners as well. And it's networking. What is your thought? I mean, I just heard you sigh now.
I did. I'll be honest. My first thought when you think networking, I'm like, really, do I have to? But I know in my heart and in my head, it's extremely important. Getting out, connecting with people, meeting new people. If you talk to a lot of successful entrepreneurs or business operators, they talk about the power of the network behind them, which help them think of new ideas or make the right connections. So I know networking is important.
It is. And networking is one of the 4 fundamental skills of innovation as well.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about how that works. And so, you know, I think that networking is, I think the same thing as you do a lot of times, right? Ugh, do I have to go network? And, you know, I think early in my career, I did a lot of networking. And part of it was because it was expected, right? If I wanted to get connected in the industry, if I wanted to get connected in my company, you know, that's what you did. And then as I've transitioned now to my entrepreneurial journey, I realized that networking, just like you said, right, is so important, right? It is so important to building your business and having fresh ideas, frankly, and just knowing what's going on. And so, I mean, I've even recently, I think so often we think about these big events though, but I have a book club, a business book club that I do with some folks. And honestly, we talk about the book, but then we primarily just kind of catch up, network, help problem solve with each other. And so I think it's important to think about networking outside the context of work.
Yes. Very much.
As we go through this today and talk about some things, I want to encourage everyone to try to broaden their definition of networking, that networking is not just about work. And in fact, Sean Anker is an author, and he wrote The Happiness Advantage, which is a great book. You should check it out. And he also just released a book called Big Potential.
Just gonna have to check it out.
And he talks about social connection and how important it is to success, like we've been talking about, but it's important to health. And it's also important to this whole idea of long-term happiness. I want us to start with really reframing networking into this idea that it's not really about networking, it's just about connecting with people.
All right. It's a better perspective. I can get it's a positive perspective.
Right? It's about connecting, and it's critical. It's critical for business, it's critical for happiness, it's critical for success. And so we're going to start with that, which is reframing our perspective. And so, as you already said, like your eyes roll when you think about networking and you think, ugh. And the other thing for me, and maybe for a lot of you, is I'm busy. I don't have time for this nonsense of networking, right? If I have to do it for my job, I'll go do it, but I'm busy and I don't have time to get ready and to go out. My brain does not naturally associate fun with networking.
Right.
Right?
Right. Because we've been too accustomed to the big networking event where there's 100 or more people and you have to walk around with your drink in your hand and figure out small talk with multitude of people, and how can you make a connection in the first 10 seconds of that encounter.
Right. And are you thinking just a little bit, how can I do this most efficiently so I can get out of there? So for that reason, I think it's important to have a goal, right? And not just to be efficient in your networking, but to be effective, right? So I think it's about having a goal, or you're going to waste your time and you're going to waste opportunities, right? You won't even know if you met somebody that you wanted to meet because you didn't have a goal. I'm trying to find places where I enjoy spending time and I can do maybe more listening than talking, right? And just start to build connections. What is your goal right now, Sharon, when it comes to networking?
Yeah, so mine is really making that connection. So mine is more of a personal basis right now than professional. So I've moved, I'm saying in the same metroplex, but I've moved cities. And so trying to branch out and find new people within my local radius to, of course, play pickleball with or go have coffee with. So mine is about making personal connections and new friends and, people to go bake with or, explore the town.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I lived closer because I would do those things with you. That would be fun. It's about having a goal. And then there's also an intentionality that I think is important. So this intentionality of showing up and being authentic. So I am so over what you described earlier as the small talk, elevator pitch, trying to cram your business card into somebody's hand, like events like that, I am done.
Yeah.
Like no more. And I think the reason is it's because they feel so inauthentic.
Right.
They feel so fake. And I think everybody feels that way, but they're all there because they feel obligated to be there for some reason. So I guess because I've lost patience with that, and because I'm super protective of my time and frankly my energy, right? Because I don't know what your energy feels like if you psych yourself up to go in, and then if it's like that where it's like, what do you do? And then it's like, ooh, well, I do this, and can I sell you this? Does it just like suck the life right out of you?
It does.
Surely we can't be the only people who feel that way. And so I'm much more intentional now. And so the reason why intentionality plays into that is I think about groups I want to check out. So actually reconnected, this is kind of funny, with the alumni chapter for Purdue in Austin. Oh, nice. And I actually found out there are like over 9,000 Purdue alumni that live in the Austin area. I've reconnected with them just to try to meet a different group of people, because one of the things, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is when you are networking for business and industry, you end up running into the same people all the time. Have you noticed that? Like
Yes.
when you go to a conference or whatever,
Right.
and it's typically the same people. And so I started looking for places where I can meet different people. I've also joined the Texas Women in Business.
Nice.
And Austin Women in Technology, which is probably the most diverse group. And so that's probably my favorite right now.
Yeah.
Is just super different, lots of ages, lots of different people doing things. So anyway, that's what I'm up to. What are you doing these days?
So since mine is more of a personal intentionality, I have also, have this challenge of doing yes to new opportunities. I'm trying to stretch and, like you said, connect with people outside of my typical, network. Like, so I can hear new ideas or go try a new activity. So first and foremost, I connected with a local Bible study here in town. A local restaurant near us has started a monthly Bible study in the mornings for women's, and it's quite popular. I mean, I think there's over 100 to 200 people to show up
my
for
gosh.
this monthly visit. So I make a point to sit at new tables, try to find somebody new that I haven't talked to, or even sit with somebody that may seem by themselves as well, just like me. And then I've been super excited since I said I moved. The street that I'm living on, one of my neighbors is kind of hosting a monthly wine night. So who can go wrong with that?
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds really awesome. Yeah, I almost forgot. I'm also doing some things online. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between virtual connecting with people and in-person connecting, right?
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, we all got really burned out on this virtual connecting business. But I actually have some topics that I'm really interested in. And so one of the communities that I'm trying out online is called the Institute for the Future. It's run by them, and it's urgent optimists. Okay. Right? See, the title even made you smile because I do think that maybe it's necessary these days to work hard to remain optimistic. And so being optimistic about the future and just thinking through that. So that's Urgent Optimist. And then the other one I do, which won't surprise you either, is a brain-based research group called Nest Labs. And so we talk about things related to creativity and innovation and productivity and curiosity and all kinds of topics that
right up your alley.
I love. So, I think that sometimes we also make networking harder than it needs to be.
Okay.
And so, it can be simple. And, during the pandemic in my neighborhood, people got together at a field to bring their dogs because it was so isolating, but people had puppies, they had dogs, and they needed to be socialized. And so they started just kind of gathering on the field. And that group still meets today. And I mean, I met a neighbor, somebody that I live in a rather big community, but somebody I met is somebody I used to work with 15 years ago. I had no idea he lived in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's always a small world.
Right. And then, but we've built relationships and connections, and we have a group me that we, actually it's WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp and we talk about, does anybody know or have a solution for this problem? And so it's just a really awesome group to stay connected with, and especially after work on a stress-filled day, to walk over and just unwind and build connection, network all at the same time.
Yeah, I had but the power of the connection also lends in the personal world, because I took, trying to stretch myself in new activities, I took a class to learn how to play pickleball, of course, the fastest growing sport. But through that connection, I can, really hit it off with one person, and then she took another class and hit it off with somebody else who ended up starting a monthly or weekly Saturday pickleball group. And so she pulled me into that. And so that's been super fun, and meeting a lot of different women throughout area that I live in. So yeah, so just reaching out and saying hi to somebody and making those small connections
Absolutely.
is helpful.
Absolutely. Last point is about just being creative and diverse. And hopefully you've picked up a few tips even now as we've gone through this. But, as I think about my approach early in my career, it was always super focused, right? Business, industry. How can it help me build my career? How can it help me advance? Um, and then looking back, I realized, I would have loved for my network to have been more diverse. And it actually is pretty diverse, to be fair, because I've worked in very different industries,
Yes.
right? I worked in automotive, high tech, and then academia. And
Right.
so, but that happened over a long period of time. It wasn't really intentional. And, I came across this fact. So there's a professor at the College of William and Mary at their business school, and she did some research and she found that boundary spanning relationships, right, are the most valuable in your network. And actually, so this means relationships across functional areas, across industries, across organizations. So those boundary spanning relationships are the most powerful because they bring diverse perspectives. And it's also one that I know is super important for innovating as well.
Yes, that's what I have to do in challenging myself and making new personal connections and new friendships. Since I'm efficient, my first thought goes to, okay, do we have a connection? Do we have something common in interest? Or, is there some professional aspect that this would be a great relationship to? And you quickly maybe say no to those things. And then historically, I've not made the opportunity to really make an effort to go on a coffee, meet that person for coffee later and develop that relationship. But now I am, and I realize in my experience, I was too quick to judge, that the value of that potential relationship. And where now that I'm taking the time to cultivate it over a longer period of time, I find we, like ourselves, have a lot in common, and there's ways that we kind of find value and friendship through these different lenses that we bring to each other.
Absolutely. It's important to remember, I get it, right? There are definitely networking things you have to do for your job, for your career, for your business. Ways to grow your brand. And, but then the seasons of your life change, and, kids head off to school, you move neighborhoods, right? Things just kind of change. And so then you have to look for ways to build your network in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're an empty nester now.
Yeah.
Right. Welcome to the club. And, so as you've moved to a new community, you have new friends, right? A new grocery store to go to, all the things, right? How are you? You talked a little bit about like the monthly wine club in the neighborhood, right? So are there any other things that you're like, man, I wish this, or I wish that?
Well, being more in the suburbs of a major metropolitan city, I have found, there's a lot more festivals, local city events to go to. So beyond the activities I mentioned so far, I have been bringing my husband along, and we'll go try the Wild West Festival, or I visit the local farmer market. And so instead of just walking through these, the local farmers market and just saying, okay, well, maybe I want to buy this or I don't want to buy this, I make an opportunity to, speak to the owner of the booth. How did they get into, making olive oils or bottling spices or whatever the case may be.
You're talking to strangers, just like I do.
I'm branching out and forcing myself to make connections. And I recently met someone who owns a chocolate shop, and I'm like, hey, maybe there's some, partnership or some, trade we can make out to help each other out. So yeah, it's I am branching out outside of my box and becoming more creative in how I connect with people.
That's awesome. I love that. I think rather than suffering through glad handing the elevator pitch gauntlet, work in the room, I think we've talked about some great alternatives, right, for building connections.
Right.
And, so whether it's taking a class,
Playing
pickleball, joining a meetup, having some wine,
Exactly.
I think that in person is great and so important. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a future episode. But don't give up either on leveraging online options, right?
Mhm.
Online communities. Because honestly, that's how Sharon and I stay connected right now.
Yeah,
is I'm super grateful that we're here together, but we spend a lot of time on Zoom, right? Online, catching up. And so don't think that's not a good option either. But try to think of networking by design, right? Rather than by default.
Yep.
If you network by design rather than default, I think you're going to get so much more out of it. Here's what we've covered, right? Reframe. You got to start with reframing your perspective, right? Every time you hear the word networking, you cannot think, ugh.
Exactly.
Then understand the goal, have a goal, be intentional, and then really get creative and diversify. So look beyond your industry, look beyond your, functional role networking events. Go play pickleball, go do something new, take a cooking class.
Yes.
Just go meet people, go to a Bible study, right? The thing, and remember Sean Anchor, right? It's important for success, but it's also important for your health and your happiness.
Yes.
All right, Sharon, do you have something in Salt's Kitchen for us?
Absolutely. As we wrap up our very first episode, I thought as you were talking about networking, I was thinking about how do cell phones affect our relationships, right? So I saw a great clip by Simon Sinek on YouTube that talked about the psychological power of cell phones. So, if I'm holding my cell phone here in front of you, Stacy, do you think I'm really paying attention to our podcast and what you're trying to share with our listeners if I have this cell phone in my hand?
Probably not, unless you're trying to read your notes.
I'm right here. I got my note card in front of my face.
But no, you're not paying any attention to me.
But then he said, if I place it here on the table in front of us and it's sitting there while we're having coffee or whatnot, and I'm leaving it by my hands, do you think I'm really 100% invested in our conversation?
Probably not.
Right.
But I could also think, well, at least you've turned it over and it's kind of, but it's still right there. Like I notice it being there.
Right.
Right.
Well, because what Simon says is I'm telling you, yes, I'm committed to this conversation, but not really, because as soon as it rings or buzzes, then I'm going to determine if something's more important than you are in our conversation together. So I thought that was very interesting. So of course he says, put it in your bag, put it out of sight, and remember to give people our full attention.
Yeah. I love that. That's a really great point. So sometimes, and here's one way that I combat. So sometimes I may be expecting an urgent text or something because life is complicated.
Yes.
And so if I know that I have a meeting and I haven't gotten that urgent message yet, I'm likely to tell the person, I need to keep my phone out because I have this urgent fill in the blank, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And so then you've at least told the person, I'm committed, but this is a thing that could happen.
And it be an exception.
And it can't happen every time, right? You can't always have
an urgent
call.
Yeah. We're not that important.
No.
I mean, we're important, but not
that important. Exactly. I think that's a great tip.
Yes.
So, and what a challenge for people who are so addicted to their phones.
Well, personally, it's come up between my husband and myself because he always has it on and dinner. And we used to, when kids were at home, and they got cell phones as they became teenagers, right? We would say no cell phones at the table, right? But now that we're empty nesters, well, we, as it's the two of us, we can do whatever we want in our house. So we're having cell phones on the tables. And I said, you know what? we should be focused on our relationship, and our relationship be just as important as it would be to a friend. So let's give ourselves the same respect as spouses or significant others. So yeah.
I think, yeah, that's a really
So we'll
great
see how it
point.
plays out. I'll let you know in a future
Keep me
episode.
posted.
Right.
Keep me posted. All right, that's a wrap for our very first episode of A Dash of Salt. Thank you for diving into the flavorful depths of life, leadership, and today, networking with us. And I'm Stacy McCracken, and Sharon Mawet is with me, and we are your hosts from Two Salty Women. As we sign off, remember, keep seasoning your journey with purpose, passion, and a pinch of playfulness. Whether you're stirring up new opportunities in your career or adding a dash of spice to your personal growth, we're here to sprinkle a little saltiness into your world.
That's right. Make sure you listen and subscribe to A Dash of Salt wherever you get your favorite podcast. And so don't forget to visit us also at twosaltywomen.com for even more flavorful content. So we hope you'll join us again next time for more stories, insights, and laughter as we navigate salty waters.
That sounds perfect. We can't wait to see you. Come back and join us.
Yeah.